In the shadowy corridors of power, silence often screams louder than 1,000 armies. Welcome to the fable of the Ethelgard Empire, a place where a handshake can seal a career-ending verdict, and the warmest smile often hides the coldest intent. We begin our journey into these shadow strategies with the first and most vital lesson, the art of plausible deniability. Let us transport you back to that fateful banquet night. The air is thick with the scent of expensive wine, heavy perfume, and suffocating paranoia. The young emperor sits on his throne, looking pale and powerless. Below him, the great houses are at war, not with swords, but with words. General Valerus, the man who controls the imperial legions, is banging his fist on the oak table. Isutin, his veins bulging, publicly criticizing the court's hesitation. He looks powerful. He feels invincible because he commands the loyalty of 50,000 soldiers stationed outside the city walls. He thinks he is the alpha because he has the loudest voice. But in the dim corner of the room, High Chancellor Cassius simply sits there. He says nothing. He slowly swirls the deep red wine in his crystal glass, his eyes staring into the void, as if bored by the noise. Cassius does not argue. He does not defend the emperor. He even offers a polite, almost submissive smile when Valerius glares at him. Suddenly, the heavy doors groan open, shattering the tension. The emperor's personal royal guard marches in. The room falls silent, but the man giving the order is not Cassius. The man standing up to accuse Valerius of high treason is Lord Tiberias, the master of coin and Valerius's bitter rival. Tiberias throws a stack of documents onto the table, proof of Valerius's secret dealings with barbarian tribes. Valerius is stunned. He is dragged away by the guards before he can even summon his legions. He screams Cassius's name, realizing too late who the true architect is. But it is useless. Cassius remains seated, his hands spotless, his wine glass still full. Why did Cassius win? And why did Valerius fall so hard? The answer lies in the rookie mistake of the aggressive. Valerius made himself a target. When you stand up and scream, when you brandish your power openly, you become a threat to everyone. The crowd fears you, and your enemies unite to take you down first. Valerius was eliminated because he was too loud. Cassius, however, mastered the core principle of survival, the separation of powers. Here is the rule of survival. The architect and the executioner must never be the same person. If you want to remove a dangerous rival, you must never strike the blow yourself. Direct conflict leaves fingerprints. Direct conflict risks retaliation. Instead, you must find a living weapon. In this game, Lord Tiberias was that weapon. Cassius didn't force anything. He simply found the crack in the wall. He knew Tiberias was desperate for money, and Valerius was the obstacle. Cassius didn't create the fire. He just poured the gasoline. He quietly allowed the incriminating documents to slip into Tiberius's hands. He gave Tiberius the motive, the means, and the opportunity. Tiberius did the dirty work with enthusiasm. He stood up, he shouted the accusation, and he took the credit for saving the empire. He thought he was the hero. The result, Valerius is exiled. Tiberius wins the glory but inherits the hatred of the military faction. And Cassius, he remains the calm chancellor, the only neutral party the emperor can trust. He has plausible deniability. Ifandone Asix. He can simply say, I had nothing to do with it. It was Lord Tiberias who found the evidence. This is the cruelty of high-level intelligence. Keeping your hands clean is not about morality. It is the ultimate survival skill. If there is no evidence linking you to the crash, there is no punishment to answer for. You think this is just ancient history? Dead men and dust? Wrong. The game didn't end. It just got an upgrade. From iron armor to Italian suits, this mechanism is destroying careers right now, perhaps even in your office. Have you ever seen a brilliant, charismatic CEO who needs to fire hundreds of staff to cut costs and boost stock prices? Do they walk down to the cubicles and deliver the bad news themselves? Rarely. That would damage their personal brand. They borrow a knife. The knife here is often a top-tier external consulting firm. The CEO hires them, paying millions for a strategic restructuring plan. The consultants come in, cold and detached. They look at spreadsheets, not faces. They recommend the mass layoffs. And the CEO, he will step onto the podium at the town hall meeting with a perfectly rehearsed somber face. His voice will crack with emotion as he talks about making the hard choices to save the company's future. He might even shed a tear. It is a magnificent performance. The employees leave the room furious, but they hate the heartless consultants, not the benevolent leader who claimed to be a victim of circumstance. But let's look closer at the micropolitics of your own department. This is where it gets personal. Imagine a manager who needs to get rid of a talented but stubborn employee. Let's call him Mark. Mark is good at his job, perhaps too good. He asks difficult questions during meetings. He challenges the manager's authority. Is a threat. The manager knows that firing Mark without cause is dangerous. It looks like a personal vendetta. It could trigger an HR investigation. So, the manager weaponizes the system. He decides to kill Mark's career. Not with a shout, but with a whisper. He places Mark on a performance improvement plan. On the surface, this looks like a tool to help the employee. The manager smiles and says, "I want to help you get back on track, Mark." But then, the torture begins. The manager sets goals that look reasonable on paper but are mathematically impossible to achieve without resources that he quietly withholds. He schedules meetings at conflicting times. He demands reports that serve no purpose other than to waste time. He uses internal compliance as his proxy. He micromanages through policy, documenting every minute delay, every small formatting error in an email. Day by day, Mark's spirit breaks. He becomes paranoid. He works harder, but the harder he works, the more mistakes the manager finds. The manager doesn't have to be mean. In fact, he plays the role of the supportive coach. He asks, "Is everything okay at home, Mark? You seem distracted." It is a psychological match when Mark inevitably fails to meet the impossible standards. The final meeting is called. The manager sits across the table, looking deeply regretful. He sighs, pushing the termination papers across the desk. He looks Mark in the eye and says, "I fought for you, Mark. I really did. But the metrics are clear. The policy is strict. My hands are tied." That phrase, "my hands are tied," is the modern version of Cassius sipping his wine. It is the ultimate lie of the architect. The manager sleeps well at night because he tells himself he didn't fire Mark. The system fired Mark. He was just following procedure. The lesson here is terrifying but essential. In any power struggle, the safest position is not the one holding the gavel. The safest position is the one rewriting the rules of the game. When you feel the urge to attack someone who has wronged you, stop. Breathe. Put your ego aside. Ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Who else benefits if this person falls? 2. Who has the weapon to take them down? 3. How can I guide that weapon to the target without leaving my fingerprints? But be warned, the game does not end with the fall of the enemy. By Kinethelgar, General Valerius is gone. But Lord Tiberias, the man Cassius used as a weapon, is now the hero of the court. He is intoxicated by his victory. He has tasted absolute power, and his ambition is growing. A proxy, once used, becomes a liability. A weapon that knows your secrets is dangerous. Cassius sees this. He knows that Tiberias is now the biggest threat to the balance of power. The tool has done its job. Now the tool must be broken. How do you control a pawn that thinks it is a king? How do you destroy an ally without looking like a traitor? This brings us to the next level of strategy. It is time to learn the art of the poisoned gift and how to make your enemies destroy themselves while you watch. Victory is a dangerous narcotic. In the capital of Ethelgard, the air is no longer thick with fear. It is now thick with arrogance. The coup is over. General Valerius is in exile. The streets are quiet, but inside the palace, a new problem has emerged. And his name is Lord Tiberias. You remember him from the last chapter. He was the knife Cassius used to remove the general. Tiberias, the master of coin, is now the man of the hour. He walks through the corridors with his chest puffed out. He interrupts the emperor during meetings. He demands better titles, more land, and control over the imperial guard. He has forgotten his place. He thinks he is the architect. He does not realize he was merely the instrument. In the quiet of his study, High Chancellor Cassius watches this display with a look of mild amusement. He knows a fundamental truth of power. A hunting dog that has tasted blood will eventually bite its master. Tiberias is no longer useful. He has become a liability. But Cassius cannot simply fire Tiberias. That would be clumsy. Tiberias is a hero now. Removing him openly would make Cassius look jealous and ungrateful. It would violate the doctrine of clean hands. So, how do you destroy a man who thinks he is winning? You do not fight him. You reward him. You give him the poisoned gift. One morning, Cassius summons Tiberias. He pours him a glass of the finest vintage. He smiles warmly, a rare sight. "Lord Tiberias," Cassius says, his voice dripping with false admiration, "the Empire owes you a debt. The Emperor feels that your talents are wasted on mere coins. We want to give you a true challenge. A position worthy of your genius. Tiberius's eyes light up. Greed blinds him. What is it? He asks. The northern province. Cassius replies. The grain production is failing. The peasants are restless. We need a strong hand to restore order and ensure the food supply for the capital. We are appointing you Governor Supreme of the North, with full authority to tax them as you see fit. Tiberius accepts immediately. He sees the title, Governor Supreme. He sees the power. He sees the potential for wealth. What he does not see is the trap. Cassius has just handed him a poisoned gift. The northern province is not an opportunity. It is a graveyard. The drought there is severe, a fact. Cassius conveniently forgot to mention, the peasants are not just restless. They are on the brink of armed revolt. And most importantly, the local garrisons are loyal to the exiled General Vili. By sending Tiberius to the north, Cassius has not attacked him. He has promoted him. If Tiberius fails, it is due to his own incompetence. If he is killed by rebels, he dies a martyr. Either way, Cassius solves the problem without lifting a finger. This introduces us to the mechanic of manufacturing conflict. Cassius does not stop at the promotion. He ensures the failure is absolute by using information asymmetry. Before Tiberius arrives in the north, Cassius sends secret messengers to the northern military commanders. The message is subtle. Lord Tiberius is coming to cut your wages and steal your grain to sell in the capital. He is the man who destroyed your beloved General Valeria. Then, he tells Tiberius the opposite. The northern commanders are corrupt. They are hoarding gold. You must be ruthless with them to save the economy. Do you see the elegance of the design? Cassius has painted a target on the backs of both sides. He has manufactured a war between his two biggest headaches, the ambitious Tiberius and the resentful military. He sits back in the capital, thousands of miles away, reading the reports. Tiberius tries to tax the soldiers. The soldiers riot. Tiberius tries to seize the grain. The peasants burn the fields. The Governor Supreme is now trapped in a living hell, fighting for his life, begging Cassius for help. And Cassius, he replies with letters of thoughts and prayers, expressing his full confidence in Tiberius's ability to handle the situation. This is the dark art of the poisoned gift. You give your enemy exactly what they asked for, knowing it will crush them. Now, let us leave the burning fields of the north and step into the air-conditioned nightmare of the modern office. The poisoned gift is one of the most common techniques in corporate warfare. It is often called the glass cliff or the impossible project. Imagine you are a rising star in a large corporation. You are ambitious. You are threatening the position of a senior director. You want a promotion? The director smiles at you one day. He says, "You know what, kid? You're right. You're ready for the big leagues. I have a special project, and I fought hard to get you assigned as a lead." He hands you a project. It sounds prestigious. Maybe it is digital transformation of the legacy system. It comes with a new title. You are ecstatic. You accept. What you don't know is that the project has zero budget. The technology stack is obsolete. The team members assigned to you are the ones nobody else wanted. And the timeline is mathematically impossible. This is the poisoned gift. The director has set you up to fail. When the project inevitably crashes 6 months later, he won't be the one to fire you. He won't have to. The performance metrics will do it for him. He will stand in the board meeting, shake his head, and say, "I gave him the opportunity. I gave him the lead. I guess he just wasn't ready for the responsibility." He looks like a mentor who took a chance on talent. You look like an incompetent failure. Another variation of this is the turf war. A CEO wants to weaken two powerful VPs who are forming an alliance against him. He doesn't fire them. Instead, he restructures the company. He gives marketing to VPA and brand strategy to VPB, to the outsider. These look like distinct roles, but in reality, the responsibilities overlap by 80%. Who has the final say on a campaign? Is it marketing or brand strategy? No one knows. The boundaries are deliberately vague. The result? Friction. VPA and VPB stop plotting against the CEO and start fighting each other. They argue over budgets. They hide data from one another. They sabotage each other's presentations. The CEO calls them into his office to mediate. He plays the benevolent judge. You two need to learn to collaborate. He scolds them gently. Inside, he is laughing. He has manufactured conflict to neutralize the threat to his own power. He has turned their energy inward, burning them out while he remains untouched. The psychological impact of the poisoned gift is devastating because it exploits the victim's ego. Tiberias accepted the governorship because he was greedy. You accepted the impossible project because you were ambitious. The trap works because the victim walks into it willingly. When you are offered a great opportunity that seems too good to be true, or a sudden promotion to a chaotic department, pause. Look at the architect. Are they smiling? Ask yourself, do I have the resources to succeed? Or have I just been handed a grenade with the pin pulled out? By Etelgard, the trap is sprung. The reports from the north are grim. The rebellion has begun. Lord Tiberias is besieged in his fortress, surrounded by the very soldiers he was sent to command. He sends a desperate letter to the capital, pleading for reinforcements. Cassius holds the letter in his hand. The moment has arrived. Tiberias is weak. The military is distracted. The double cross is ready. It is time for Cassius to step out of the shadows and deliver the final blow, not as a villain, but as the savior of the empire. How do you eliminate the proxy and the enemy in one single stroke, and have the people cheer for you while you do it? That is the climax of our story. That is the art of the double cross. The trap in the north has finally snapped shut. Lord Tiberias, the arrogant governor supreme, is trapped in his fortress. Outside the walls, the fires of rebellion are burning brighter than the winter stars. The soldiers he tried to tax have joined forces with the peasants he tried to starve. They are battering down the gates, demanding his arrest and calling for justice. Tiberias is terrified. He paces his chamber, trembling. He sends his fastest rider to the capital with a final, desperate message for Cassius. It reads, "The plan has failed. Send the imperial army to save me, or the north is lost." In the capital, High Chancellor Cassius reads the message. He does not panic. He does not rush. He simply notes, as if he knew this letter would arrive on this exact day. The timing is finally perfect. Prepare the legions, Cassius commands. We march north. Days later, Tiberias sees the banners of the imperial army rising over the horizon. He weeps with relief. He thinks his friend has come to rescue him. He orders the gates opened. He rides out to meet Cassius, smiling, ready to blame everything on the ungrateful peasants. "Thank the gods, you are here, Cassius," Tiberias shouts, riding towards the chancellor. "These traitors must be punished. They refuse to obey the emperor's laws." Cassius looks down from his black warhorse. His face is like stone, unreadable and cold. He raises his hand, but not to greet Tiberias. He signals the archers. "Arrest him," Cassius says quietly. Tiberias freezes. His smile vanishes. "What? I am your ally. I am the governor you appointed. You are a tyrant who starved the emperor's people," Cassius announces, his voice booming so the rebel army can hear every word. "You have abused your power. You have dishonored your station. The empire does not tolerate corruption." The rebel soldiers, who are just about to attack, stop in confusion. Then, slowly, they start to cheer. The High Chancellor is on their side. He has come to punish the wicked governor. In one calculated move, Cassius has sacrificed his own pawn to appease the angry mob. Tiberias is dragged away in chains, screaming about betrayal. His political career ended in seconds. The knife has been discarded because it was no longer useful. But the masterstroke is yet to come. This is the true double-cross. As the rebel leaders, the captains of the mutinous garrison, step forward to thank Cassius, the trap closes on them too. Cassius smiles at them benevolently. "Justice has been served to the governor," he says. "But now, we must address the law." The Imperial Guard surrounds the rebel leaders. The cheers die out instantly. The air turns cold. "You took up arms against the throne," Cassius declares, his voice losing all warmth. "Governor Tiberias was corrupt. Yes. But treason is still treason. A soldier does not question orders. He obeys them. By revolting, you have proven yourselves dangerous to the stability of the realm." Before they can draw their swords, the rebel captains are seized. In a single afternoon, Cassius has achieved the impossible. He removed Tiberias, the troublesome proxy, to regain the love of the people. He removed the rebel leaders, the actual threat, to restore fear and order. He walks away with the north under his direct control, hailed as both a liberator and a restorer of justice. He burned the candle at both ends and kept the wax for himself. This is the peak of Machiavellian strategy. We call it the cleanup. It is the ability to solve a crisis by eliminating both the cause of the problem and the reaction to it. Now, strip away the armor and the horses. Let us look at the boardroom. The double cross is the favorite weapon of the corporate takeover. In the modern business world, we call it the interim CEO strategy. Imagine a massive company, let's call it Tech Corp, that is bloated and losing money. The board of directors knows they need to do terrible things to save the business. They need to fire 30% of the staff, cut health benefits, and sell off beloved divisions. If the board does this directly, the shareholders will panic, the brand will die, and they will be blamed. So they hire an outsider. Let's call him the Hatchet Man. They bring in a new CEO with a reputation for ruthlessness. They give him a massive bonus package and a mandate to fix the company at any cost. This new CEO acts exactly like Tiberias. He fires thousands of people via email. He kills remote work policies. He sells the company cafeteria. He is hated. The press calls him a villain. The employees despise him. Morale hits rock bottom. But he does exactly what the board wanted. He balances the books. The stock price starts to stabilize. The Wall Street Journal praises the efficiency, while Twitter burns with outrage. Then, once the dirty work is done, the board executes the double cross. They fire the Hatchet Man. They issue a public statement that reads, "We thank the CEO for his service, but his leadership style does not align with our values of empathy and community. We are letting him go to heal the company." The employees cheer. The tyrant is gone. They say, the board looks like heroes who stepped in to save the culture. But here is the catch. They don't hire back the 30% of staff who were fired. They don't bring back the benefits. They keep all the financial cuts the Hatchet Man made. But they blame the pain on him. They keep the savings. They discard the blame. The Hatchet Man walks away with a golden parachute, his severance package worth millions. Knowing he played his role perfectly, the employees go back to work, grateful to the board, not realizing they are now working in the exact harsh environment the board wanted all along. Another common variation is the bad cop consultant. A manager wants to implement a strict new attendance policy. He knows everyone will hate it, so he hires a security consultant to do a safety audit. The consultant recommends installing turnstiles, badge trackers, and monitoring software, claiming it is for the safety of the staff. The staff complains. They feel watched. They say this is an invasion of privacy. The manager shrugs and plays the innocent victim. He says, "I agree with you. It is annoying. But the security audit identified critical risks. We have to follow their compliance standards, or our insurance goes up. I am just following the expert's advice." He implements the tracking. Then, 6 months later, he terminates the contract with the security consultant because they were too difficult to work with. He fires the consultant, his proxy, but he keeps the turnstiles and the tracking data. The result? Wins twice. He gets the control he wanted, and he gets to be the good guy who fired the annoying consultants. The lesson of the double cross is brutal but clear. Loyalty is a resource, not a virtue. In the game of power, people are fuel. You burn them to get where you need to go. Tiberias was fuel. The Hatchet Man was fuel. When you are watching a public scandal, when you see a high-profile firing, ask yourself, is this justice, or is this just the architect cleaning up the aftermath? Cassius stands on the walls of the northern fortress. The snow is falling, covering the remnants of the struggle. The north is silent. The empire is safe. He has won the war, but victory has a price. He is now the sole survivor of his generation. The clean hands are no longer enough. Now, he must ensure that the story told to future generations is the right one. He must control the narrative. Because if you don't write your own history, your enemies will write it for you. History doesn't remember the details of the conflict. It only remembers the statues we build. How does a ruthless pragmatist become a father of the nation? How do you scrub the history books clean? We enter the final phase. The legacy. Decades have passed since the fires burned in the north. The snow has melted and fallen 50 times over the graves of General Valerius and Governor Tiberias. The empire of Ethelgard is now in a golden age. The markets are bustling. The borders are secure. And in the center of the capital square stands a massive statue of white marble. It is not a statue of the emperor. It is a statue of High Chancellor Cassius. He is depicted holding a scroll, not a sword. The inscription at the base reads, Cassius, the peacemaker, the guardian of prosperity. Cassius is now an old man. He sits in his library, surrounded by silence. His breathing is shallow. He knows his time is coming to an end. But he has one final task to complete. He is not meeting with generals or spies. He is meeting with the royal historians. This is the final level of the game. It is not enough to win the war. You must also win the memory of the war. The historian asks timidly, "My lord, How shall we record the rebellion of General Vali? Shall we write that he was a traitor? Cassius shakes his head slowly. No, he rasps. Do not call him a traitor. That makes him sound dangerous. Call him confused. Write that he was a brave soldier who lost his mind to fever. Paint him with pity, not hate. And Governor Tiberias, the historian asks, his voice trembling. The man you removed, write that Tiberias was a martyr? Cassius says, a faint smile touching his lips. Write that he died defending the north from bandits. Build a shrine for him. Let the people mourn him. Do you see the genius? If Cassius vilified his enemies, future generations might look into the details. They might dig for the truth. But by praising them, by rewriting them as tragic figures, Cassius buries the truth under a layer of flowers. He becomes the benevolent survivor, the reluctant leader who had to carry the burden of the state while his friends tragically fell. He is no longer a conspirator. He is a saint. This is the lesson of the survivor's history. The winner does not just take the spoils. The winner takes the pen. In the physical world, you can eliminate a man with a weapon, but in the history books, you can destroy him with an adjective. You can turn a freedom fighter into a radical insurgent, or a tyrant into a savior, simply by controlling the narrative. Now, let us leave the marble halls of Ethelgard for the last time, and return to the glass towers of the modern world. Does this rewriting of history happen today? Every single day. We just call it by a different name. We call it reputation management or rebranding. Look at the career arc of a ruthless tech tycoon. In the early days, Asa Sharp, he crushes competitors with illegal lawsuits. He steals patents. He exploits workers. He is the antagonist of his own story. He is hated by the public. But once he has won, once he has amassed billions and destroyed all his rivals, the pivot begins. He steps down as CEO. He starts a foundation. He stops talking about market share and starts talking about curing malaria or colonizing Mars. But it is not just about charity. It is a mechanical process. He hires a legion of PR experts to execute a digital cleansing. They use search engine optimization to manipulate reality. They flood the internet with thousands of positive, neutral articles about his philanthropy. Why? To push the old stories about his lawsuits to the 10th page of Google results. They know a secret. The public does not look past the first page. They buy awards. Suddenly, he is named Visionary of the Year by magazines that rely on his advertising money. They seed the thought leadership articles on LinkedIn, rewriting his aggressive past as bold decisiveness. 10 years later, when you search his name, you don't see the scandals. You see photos of him cutting ribbons at a charity gala. You see him smiling with children. He has pulled a Cassius. He has bought his way into heaven. The ruthless monopolist has successfully rebranded into the visionary philanthropist. The public forgets the cost. They only see the statues, or consider a massive corporation caught in a terrible scandal perhaps, an oil spill that destroys a coastline, or a data breach that leaks millions of passwords. Does the company fold? Rarely. They execute the Phoenix strategy. They apologize profusely. They fire the CEO, which we learned as the double cross. And then, they change their skin. They change their name. They change their logo from an aggressive red to a calming, eco-friendly green or blue. They launch a massive advertising campaign about green energy or digital safety. They don't just hide the scar. They paint over it with gold. They turn their greatest failure into their origin story of how they became a better company. They control the narrative so tightly that 5 years later, the scandal is just a footnote in a long quarterly report that no one reads. The ultimate power is not money. It is not armies. It is the ability to define what is true. Cassius understands this as he closes his eyes for the last time. He's at peace. He knows that no one will ever know about the whispered conversations with Tiberias. No one will know about the secret orders sent to the rebels. The archives have been sealed. The witnesses are gone. The statues are built. To the world, he is a hero. And because everyone believes it, it becomes the truth. So, as we conclude our journey through the dark arts of strategy, remember the 4 pillars we have built. First, the clean hands. Never strike the blow yourself. Use a proxy to maintain plausible deniability. Second, the poisoned gift. Destroy your enemies by giving them exactly what they want: a promotion or a project designed to fail. Third, the double cross. Sacrifice your pawns to win the board. Be the one who solves the crisis you created. And finally, the legacy. Control the story. Be the one who pays for the ink. You might ask, is this evil? That is a question for philosophers, not for strategists. The world is not black and white, it is gray. It is a place where good people often finish last because they refuse to play the game, and bad people win because they master the rules. My goal was not to teach you how to be a villain. It was to show you how the architects think, so you can see the strings when they try to pull them on you. When you see a sudden scandal, look for the invisible hand. When you are offered a golden opportunity, check for poison. And when you read the history books, remember to ask, who commissioned this story? The game is always being played. The only question is, are you a player, or are you just ink on the page?